What's up, team? We are back with part 2 of our Deadlock skin concept series. In this video, we'll be covering the remaining 11 heroes not covered in the first video, but still excluding the heroes currently in Hero Labs. We'll do additional videos once a handful of those new heroes are released, as their designs are subject to change. Once again, I am not a professional artist or Photoshop professional, so I don't have any design skins, but rather sort of an inspiration board for what I thought might be fitting skin concepts for those heroes. In addition, I'm only covering skins and not necessarily the idea that cosmetics would alter the effects or designs of hero abilities. I know in some titles, changing the skin might also change the color or appearance of those abilities. That's an additional layer to these changes, and I don't know if Valve is going to do that or want to do both. I'm personally not opposed either way. Let's jump in. First up, an honorable mention here. We had Lewis comment on the first video, which showcased Viscous, saying they'd like to see a minion inspired skin from the Megamind movie. And I gotta say, Lewis, you might be onto something. First up, Bbop. Now, the first thing I think about when I think Bbop is a giant laser beam. And this got me thinking about ancient Egypt, ancient mythology, you know, the different sun gods. And there's a lot of like images of a beam of light shooting down from, you know, a god or a pyramid or the Sphinx. For whatever reason, that just reminded me of that. So I think an ancient Egyptian sort of ancient mythology in that part of the world type of skin would be really cool. Like maybe do some of the Pharaoh's garb. You could change the color of if you wanted to change the colors, change the color of the laser beam to that orange and yellow. The armor around the legs for Bbop and even like the ankle bracelet thing, it reminded me of that ancient times kind of armor, that layered armor. I really like the idea and thought of Bbop having that ancient and Egyptian look about him. You know, Anubis, Ra, the sun god. That's what I have for Bbop. Next up, we have Dynamo. Dynamo has a very superhero-esque origin story. If you go and read his background, his head is actually occupied by a dying star, and this isn't his original body. When I first look at Dynamo, especially the big satchel that's over his chest there, it made me think about this really terrible movie called The Postman with Kevin Costner. And a lot of y'all have not seen this movie, but if you go watch The Postman with Kevin Costner, basically it's a post-apocalyptic America, and he starts to deliver the mail again, which inspires hope, and then the postmen are like this weird makeshift army. I'm probably slaughtering the synopsis here in the total concept, but I haven't seen it in a while. But if you ever get a chance when you really don't care about the quality of the film, go watch The Postman. But the thought that I had for the skin concept for Dynamo here would be a mailman, a postman of sorts. He's got the big satchel. You could put a big mail type cap over him. And the voice, I mean, he's just got this kind of like nice, kind, you know, pleasant, stroll down your neighborhood street kind of voice, if that even makes any sense. Next, we've got sun and planets. His ability, his ultimate singularity, you know, it's a black hole essentially. I thought it might be cool if they open up his chest, the main portion of his body, and have like a little solar system maybe floating around. You've got stars and planets, but micro versions of them just kind of floating across his midsection. And instead of having it be encased, have it be open, maybe like a cage of some kind, like a round cage, be his body, and you can see through him, but all these little planets and stars fill that space. Finally, in the top right, there's this character from this show called Unicorn Warriors Eternal, and it's an animated show, and this robot character's name is Copernicus. So you could go super robotic, kind of get away from having these human clothes and give him more of like expose the robotic pieces, the cyborg animatronic pieces of Dynamo's body, and have it be maybe a little more round, but go a little more steampunk and truly a, you know, not a robot pretending to be a human, but just fully lean into that robot cyborg design. Next up, we have Infernus. Now, this might be a little on the nose, but give me vintage fireman. Give me a vintage firefighter skin for Infernus. Give me those old school masks. Give me the giant rubber boots. Give me the helmet that creates the water force field. Do they still do that? That'd be kind of sweet. But those vintage firefighter suits, I think would look amazing on Infernus. Trying to go the opposite way, what he is actually designed to do, what his background is, having control over fire. A little more on the nose, Frozone, and I only thought of Frozone because of the trail. Similar to the way Kelvin has his track, Infernus has his track, so if you wanted to change the look and effects of the hero abilities, having the ice trail behind you instead of the fire trail, having a type of superhero suit for Infernus, I think would fit his personality well. Next up, we have Ivy, one of the most loved and or hated characters in Deadlock. For Ivy, I have Chaos from Sailor Moon, I have an old-timey pilot, and I have a magnificently painted and decorated individual celebrating Dia de los Muertos, otherwise known as the Day of the Dead. And I think my favorite idea for Ivy, this Day of the Dead design, you could do a lot when she flips into the gargoyle to do the stun. You could have her covered in all of these different flowers. You could paint and design her wings like stained glass. You could do a lot with the gargoyle and the Day of the Dead designs. I think that would fit up with Ivy. The pilot theme fits in with her ult. She's flying around. You could put her in a bomber jacket with big old-timey pilot goggles. That would line up. That would make sense. The chaos design, you could go a little more vampiric or monster, have the blacks and the reds. It matches up with the wings well, make her a little more gothic, but I still think the Day of the Dead designs would be my personal favorite. Next up, we have Kelvin, and a couple of thoughts and ideas here. One, we've got the old army radio operator with the big backpack. We've got a fire, sort of lava shaman from World of Warcraft. We've got this AI generated druid looking individual, and then we've got some bugs frozen in amber. First up, we have the old army operator. I picked this because of the large backpack equipment. Kelvin has a large back piece, and I was trying to think of something that might match that. So having the large radio on the back, throw one of those classic World War II military helmets on, a uniform, a field uniform on, I think could fit Kelvin. It's not my favorite. I also thought about going the opposite of what he is, which is an ice-based character, to go with the fire or lava type shaman look. You know, big upper body pieces, big shoulders, a big back piece, and have everything kind of run with more reds and oranges versus the blues. I thought this naturalistic sort of druid build also might work for Kelvin, so instead of leaving an ice trail behind, patches of grass or flowers as he goes through, but you could do sort of a green theme. You could give him a horned helm, kind of wrap him in nature. Finally, with the bugs frozen in amber, I thought it might be cool to add some stuff since he's coming from this. He's got the ice theme, and if you read his backstory, he was frozen in ice, so I thought it could be cool to maybe have some stuff frozen in ice attached to him. Some of the relics that he talks about in his background, you could have frozen on him. You could have, some bugs or some like plant life kind of frozen around him, just kind of beef up the skin a little bit. Couple of options with Kelvin. It's not my favorite set. It's just sort of things that I thought about might fit him, but none of these really scream out at me like, yes, that's what I would love to see on Kelvin. So if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. Please drop them down below. Next up, we have Mirage. I've got 3 ideas for the Mirage character. First is the Willy Wonka from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The second is Jinn, or kind of a genie type spirit. You see a lot of these in like D&D, Magic, kind of high fantasy stuff. And then the last character, if you guys recognize, is the character Ardith Bay, who is a magi from the series The Mummy. If you haven't seen this movie, you are missing out. It's an oldie, but it's one of Brendan Fraser's best roles. Make sure to go check it out. If you have not seen it, I'd be shocked. And honestly, I don't think we could be friends. If I'm being honest, I think Mirage has one of the weaker kind of standard skins in the game as is. I just don't think it's that cool. I don't think it's that, magical or appealing or just over the top as is. So I thought the Jinn might be a good idea. Have him a little bit closer to a shade of blue. You can have some lightning around his arms. You could give him a lot more facial hair, a ponytail, the long beard type look. The Willy Wonka thing, I just feel like Mirage is a tall character, and Willy Wonka always had this appearance of being or looking tall, and I think it's just like a long, slender suit that I think would fit well with Mirage. And then finally, Ardith Bay. I think having that classic, old school, I know it's a fictional movie, but I'm sure some of the culture comes over, so I just maybe give Mirage some face tattoos, put him in more of like Bedouin type outfit, long, flowing material. I think that would work really well with Mirage. Next up, we have Paradox, who I actually think has one of the better standard skins in the game. When I think Paradox, I think the big London fog, overflowing, long, overcoat. I love the blue flower. Her head is obviously a cool design and concept with the big hourglass on the back. So I think Paradox already has a lot of good stuff going for her in that skin. But I came up with two ideas. One, the ancient one from the Doctor Strange series, and one, the villain from Big Hero 6. I just think of the big long overcoats with, I haven't really thought about how to alter Paradox's head. Maybe you just leave it as is and change the clothing part of it. I think the ancient one and the yellows and the golds and the mustards with the dark, like the dark belts and other kind of accessories could go really well with Paradox. And then I also think that that villain from Big Hero 6, I think it's Yokai, maybe. I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly, but having like a cool mask like that would be awesome. Put everything in black with the big long overcoat. You keep the hourglass to help players identify which hero they're fighting. I think both of these concepts could have potential and match up with Paradox well. Next up, we have 7. Now, 7, I think, has one of the more interesting default skins. I think he's got a cool character design. I didn't know how to figure it out. Now that I'm looking at him, maybe a Bumblebee? Maybe not. Give me the Nikolai Tesla. Give me like that pleated old school gentleman suit. Keep the headpiece for 7. Keep the mask. Change up the entire outfit. Do that old school classic gentleman suit from way back in the day, but keep the helmet on. I think that would be really, really cool. I think you could also do, now that I'm looking at him, maybe sort of like an undead skin, because he's got the chains hanging down. So maybe you could do, some kind of skeleton type skin with the electricity. But I also had Raiden up here from Mortal Kombat. You could do that more traditional martial arts kind of fantasy ninja type outfit with the hat on as well to match it up. I think there's a lot you can do with 7. I just struggled to come up with some what I would consider decent ideas, but I do like the thought of the classic suit, and Raiden maybe a little bit on the nose just because of this is the same abilities and everything, but I think you could find some sort of classic martial art type garb to go with them, and potentially maybe like an undead thing with the chains, maybe switch them to some like greens and purples to match that kind of like necromancy undead vibe. Next up, we have Shiv, and we actually had a viewer recommendation for a skin for Shiv. Mexican Llama said Space Dandy for Shiv, and I have to be honest, I had to look this up, and I don't hate it, because when I see Shiv, the first thing I want to do is throw an Elvis skin around him, and I was trying to lean away from something so obvious, so on the nose, but maybe that's what makes a great skin, because it does fit so well. But Mexican Llama, thank you for the suggestion. Space Dandy, I threw up some pics. You guys are familiar with that show. I think it works. And for my suggestion, when I see Shiv, give me Evel Knievel. Give me the stars and stripes. Give me a cape. Give me a big belt buckle that says Shiv across the front. Give me Evel Knievel, big sideburns. You can make the hair a little bit crazy, or honestly leave it the same. But give me Evel Knievel. Give me Space Dandy. That's Shiv. Next up, we have Warden. I have 2 suggestions for Warden. One of them I'm leaning a lot heavier toward. And give me Kraven. Give me the Kraven skin. Cover my boy Warden in animal print. Let's get that chest popping and invisible. Give me a big fur. I think if you cover Warden with a bunch of facial hair and put him in animal print, he would look extra, extra sweet. The other suggestion that I have is sort of an old school 1920s, 1930s mobster. We've got Capone and Lucky Luciano over here. I think you could go the opposite way, since Warden is playing the role of a police officer. Go the other way, make him a mobster, and have him designed that way. But I do like the Kraven idea. I like the idea of having the big fur, the open vest. I think Warden would look extra badass with all of that. And last but not least, we have Wraith. And we actually have another viewer comment suggestion included. Linguini says, I'd love to see a skin for Wraith that transforms her into a voodoo Bourbon Street witch doctor hustler with a Baron Samedi hat. Also, she doesn't use her arms, so a skin where she is in a straitjacket, a tattered cloak, some kind of mask would be awesome. And I couldn't agree more. That's why I included Wraith from Apex Legends, that sort of straitjacket build. It would be cool to see her actual arms in that straitjacket with the puppet arms behind her controlling the gun and the magic, which they already do. The witch doctor, I think, fits perfectly perfectly here. She almost already has the color scheme that would fit in with that Witch Doctor, that Bourbon Street type image. So I think both of these are great suggestions. I love the character Wraith, playing as the character Wraith, so I'm all for both of these skins. I think the straight jacket would be so awesome, and I mean, honestly, either one of these would be perfect. The color schemes already fit well with her. I'm all in. So thank you so much for the suggestion, Linguini. That is what I have for Wraith. That is it for me, folks. Thank you guys for watching part 2 of my Deadlock skin concept videos. We'll do a part 3, but it's going to take a little bit of time. We have to wait for the Hero Labs heroes to all be released, so that'll probably occur over the next several months. I don't want to do just 1 or 2 heroes at a time. I'd rather batch it. Thank you guys for watching. You can find me at Ghost Stories Gaming on all things socials. Don't forget, I do game reviews, short form, long form content for all things gaming. If you guys are interested, like or enjoy the content, you know what to do. Drop a sub, drop a comment, drop a suggestion, whatever you guys want to see. The next review that'll be coming out will be for the Plucky Squire, so if you're looking to see if that is worth your time and money, keep an eye out for that. Also, make sure to check out the Midnight Release podcast, which is available on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. These are just one-on-one conversations with content creators in the space. It can be anything from gaming to cooking to comic books to lifestyle, whatever. If you're making content and you want to come on the pod and chat about it, let me know, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.